you kids.
Me too.
I wish I knew how to quit eating bugs.
This seems so James Bond.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Manning is currently covering Sundance, so he has not had time to prepare an intro. Cue the music. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a live episode of Gone with the Wind. I am too lazy to edit something right now because, well, not lazy. I guess overworked is the more accurate term because right now I'm currently at Sundance, covering Sundance until the end of this week, and I have run myself ragged at the tune of seeing a lot of films, including work, because I haven't taken off work. So at the end of the day, I'm working, and I'm also Sundancing. But I'm not alone here today because we're going to also have talking about the Oscars and all the guilds that are currently transpiring. Malcolm, you are here, sir.
I am here.
You are here. Welcome. And Dan, you are also here.
Yeah, and you look like you have more color this week than you did last week. So that means that you must be getting more rest or something.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Only one night have I only gotten like 4 hours of sleep this past week. So every other night gotten at least 6 hours. Not ideal, but we're going. We are absolutely going. But no, yeah, today has been winding down Sundance right now. I won't get into too much that I've seen. We're gonna have a special episode hopefully next week. Whether it's live or pre-recorded, I don't know. So look forward to that. But Malcolm, you have a new camera. I just want to say it looks smashing.
Makes you look younger, Malcolm.
You are
Probably
youthful
not,
age.
but
It does. It does make you look younger. I swear, you look younger.
It's the camera quality. It looks immaculate. Also, breaking news apparently. The movie Living with Bill Nye that was at the Sundance Film Festival has apparently just been picked up by Sony Pictures Classics. So that's breaking news right there. So
Yeah, I loved Living.
I did not see that one. That's one I missed. So
Oh, Bill Nye. Oh, God. What a beautiful performance by Bill Nye. We're going to be talking about Bill Nye next year at Oscar time, I have a feeling.
you think so?
What a sweet, just heartwarming performance by Bill Nye in this. Just such a small. It would seem like a Sony Pictures classic movie, to be
It
honest.
gives off that vibe.
What, Bill Nye the Science Guy?
Yes.
Nope.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
INGHY, that Nye, not
Bill
Nye.
Nye. Bill Nye. I realized after saying that it's Bill Nye. Correct. I don't know. My mind. See, Bill Nye rolls off the tongue in comparison to Bill Nye. Bill Nye. Bill Nye.
I mean, Bill Nye should be nominated for his performance in Mank.
Who? I don't remember him in Mank. What was he in Mank?
Was he his brother? Was he?
He was this very small role, and I know that much.
I barely remember him. That's so. I don't. Bill Nye in Mank is like I'm just blanking right now on when he is, or where he was, or in the movie or whatnot. But anyway, yeah, no. Sundance. We'll get to that a little bit later. Not this episode, but a little prior. First
Upton Sinclair he played.
Yeah.
I don't know. No idea. I wish I knew, but sadly I do not. So, Malcolm, what have you watched this past week?
This past week I've just been sort of watching a bunch because I haven't had to watch anything to preparation for Rankin. But I've watched a bunch of Disney Channel original movies. I watched Lucky Dog and Brink yesterday. I finally got around to Ghostbusters Afterlife, but I enjoyed it. It didn't crack my top 10, but it was an enjoyable movie. And then I also finally got around to watching a movie from a few years ago called The Hate You Give. And that is an amazing movie. I don't know why it was overlooked for the Oscars, because it should have been in the Oscar race. I
never got a chance to see that one all the way through. I think whenever I rented it, like I left and for something and I never finished it, but it was, and then it expired. So I was like, but it was really good from everything that I saw. Dan, you saw The Hate You Give, right?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Amanda Stenberg, completely wasted in Dear Evan Hansen. Fantastic in The Hate You Give. I mean, I loved her in that film. And also, I think, is it Anthony Mackie is in it?
He is. You're right. You are right.
Anthony Mackie's fantastic in it. I really think Amanda Stenberg has a lot of talent, and that movie really showed that this girl could be something. And then they kind of make her a peripheral character in the Dear Evan Hansen. It's like, dang, that's what she gets after that. I want to see more of her.
Malcolm, what else have you seen?
As I said, there really isn't like they've done a few rewatches like Paddington. I find that's the other one I was going to talk about. Talking about best picture winners, I finally got around to watching this.
Oh wow!
Great,
nice.
All right, that's fantastic. What'd you think?
Great movie.
It was great. It's a silent movie. There wasn't not a lot. But I was definitely it's one that I could put on watch while I'm doing other things.
Yeah, it has a great. While it is a silent film, of course, the artist always had a great screen presence about it. Like, obviously, it was an homage to the silent era, but I know what you mean. Like, you can kind of put it on because it's a nice. Well, it has some heavy themes. There's a nice comfort about it in a weird way, because that music is that score is.
Also, it was like for the most part, I just thought it was a like watching in just an old silent movie. Then all of a sudden, John Goodman appears out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, there's John Goodman." It's like it's not a silent movie.
John Goodman's just here, coming out and being John Goodman. So, Dan, what did you see this past week?
Well, I'll tell you, I saw a lot of things. I had to prepare for Dylan and Chad's podcast or YouTube show, so I watched all the 1980 Academy Award winning Best Picture nominees, along with a few of the
nice
other ones. So I watched Elephant Man, Raging Bull, Tess, Coal Miner's Daughter, Ordinary People, The Great Santini, Melvin and Howard, all those films from 1980 to prepare for there. I just got finished before we went on the air of watching Reacher from Amazon Prime, which if you know anything about Jack Reacher, this show is a much better interpretation of Lee Child's first novel, Falling Floor, than the two previous movies by Tom Cruise, namely Alan Richardson. He's 6'5", and Tom Cruise is 5'7". Nowhere near the stature or height of Jack Reacher. But I really, really enjoyed this. I think it's going to be a good show. I think a lot of people are going to pick this show up and realize what a good character this is when it's portrayed the right way. Also, did I say, I can't remember if I told you guys, but I did. The woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window, starring.
Yeah, you did mention that. How far did you get?
I got the whole thing watched.
Oh, you watched it?
Wow, does that have twists and turns in it? I mean, twists and turns. You gotta watch it right to the very end. It's only 8 episodes. Same thing with Reacher. 8 episodes. Fantastic. Kristen Bell, fantastic. Also, Archive 81. Oh my God, this show is so good. 8 episodes. Once again, the latter two I just said, Archive 81 and the woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window, are on Netflix, and Reacher is on February 4th on Amazon Prime. Also, what is the Javier Bardem, My Boss, something Boss.
Oh, The Good Boss. Did you see The Good Boss?
Good Boss today. Wow, is freaking Javier Bardem incredible. The guy's, he's just, if you don't think this guy can act, watch him in The Good Boss. He gets a SAG for being the Ricardos, but I'll tell you what, phenomenal and the good boss. I can't say enough about him in that.
Who are these people saying that Javier Bardem cannot act? Like, listen, I don't love him and everything he does, but whoever's saying this needs to stop because they're wrong. Sorry, facts.
Yeah, I mean, but this is one of the foreign films that's kind of fallen under the radar, but it's really good. And Javier Bardem gives a fantastic. I'm hoping more people have a chance to see this. You know, I saw it on one of these virtual screening deals.
Yeah,
and I was lucky to see it that way. But yeah, Javier Bardem is pretty freaking good. I can't remember what else I saw this week.
I feel that on a personal level. They're all blurring together at this point. But before I mention everything, Josephine DeMarco said she watched the Philadelphia Story today with Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart, and she liked it a lot. Now, I do like the Philadelphia Story, but to me, the cloud of the Philadelphia Story is always being overshadowed with the fact that they gave him the Oscar for this movie and not Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It'll always be on my brain that is Jimmy Stewart's Oscar when it should be the year prior for Mr. Smith. That's all. That's my biggest thing. But it is a very wonderful movie. Honestly, I love the Philadelphia Story.
I mean, those guys. I mean, I guess we're in a modern times of actors that probably should have gotten multiple Oscars. But during those times, Jimmy Stewart probably should have gotten 5 Academy Awards. Or
he really should have at least 2, in my opinion. At least 2.
You know, it's like, I mean, Henry Fonda the same way. Some of these guys. I mean, Gary Cooper did get 2, which was shocking. He got 2. You know, but yeah, I mean, we were living in that era. Those guys were just the greats. They're just literally the greats. And they should have just won everything all the time.
Well, maybe not all. If they all won everything all the time, then we'd be having multiple winners for years, you know? Yeah, no, Josephine adds, Jimmy Stewart's role in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was definitely more difficult of a role. Same with It's a Wonderful Life. I agree 100%. Namely because I think that what he does there is a lot more, while the Philadelphia Story is infinitely more funny and kind of lighthearted, what he did in Mr. Smith, I'll never forget of him. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, like he literally like put mercury on his throat to like help him with the hoarseness at the end of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Maybe it wasn't mercury, but it was something over his throat to coat it to make sure he had that hoarseness. And I'll never forget that final scene where he says, somebody will listen, somebody's got to listen or something like that. And he collapses, spoiler alert. But it's movies from like 39. So
and I've got a top 5 Sundance films. So we won't talk about those today.
Yeah, we'll save that. If we were going to talk about Sundance films, Dan, we would be here for a little bit. I can assure you that.
You saw that, man?
I've only seen 13 so far. Not too much, but like we'd be here if I take enough time to talk about them, but we're not going to do that. I'll mention from my Sundance watches, which again, they've mostly been Sundance watches. One of the ones though I can talk about is I saw The Worst Person in the World. And
what did you think of it? Oh, I love it.
So good. It's so good, Dan. It's so good.
He won Best Actress in my critics group.
Renette Rensby. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Renette Renault or something like that.
Renette. So it is Renette. We'll call her Renette for now until we can hone in on her last name. But Renette is fantastic. I'm not sure I'd give her personally. I think the one that as Anders Danielson Lee, he utterly broke me.
The first boyfriend?
Yes, he broke me near like that, like the last little bit I won't spoil. There's something about it is like, yes, Josephine, yes. I'm not sure if he's my favorite just yet, but he's like top 3. I was like, why am I crying right now? But there is something so beautifully human and so poignantly raw in that entire movie. Like it's not afraid to be uncomfortable and vulnerable. The film.
How about part 8 of the
Part 8. Which one was it?
Weird.
I can't remember which part.
Part 8 just stopped. Everything stopped.
That was part 8?
Part 8.
Oh wow. Okay.
8 or 9. It was 8 or 9. I think it was 8 though.
8 sounds about right because they get closer as we
I
go.
love that part. I love that part.
Also, another fun fact that Josephine says: Anderson Daniels Lee is a medical doctor.
Huh.
Good for him. Good
Who
for
knew?
him doing acting on the side. You should. Well, I'm about to say, don't do. He probably is making more money as a doctor than he is as an actor at this moment in his career. But he's good at both.
Part 8 was fun. I mean, I liked Part 8.
Oh yeah, but Part 8 had a great if that's the one we're thinking of, it had a great symbolic nature to it, you know.
And then the part where they get high on mushrooms.
That was interesting. That was the part that I was like, I'm sure there's something in here, but why is this needed? I don't know, but I need to look at it again. Like the one that was stopped had a great symbolic meaning to it. I know the other one did too, but it was a lot they were throwing at us right then. I'm like, wow, you definitely are on shrooms, even though I've never had them before. This sounds like what it would be.
Because it's pretty straightforward up until then. And then all of a sudden you get these segments that are like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah, but no, they are a great way of kind of conveying the feeling that the characters are, you know, emoting. Like those last few segments or chapters just like wreck me on an emotional level. But yeah, that's that's the main one I saw. I saw it at Sundance, but I kind of consider it not a part of Sundance. It is a part of Sundance, but kind of separate, you know. It was really, really just fantastic, utterly fantastic. I don't know what else I've seen. I know I've seen a couple of documentaries. I'm trying to think. The first wave. The first wave is really harrowing. I never want to see that again for a little bit.
The Chinese doctor?
No, that's in the same breath, which I saw last Sundance. First wave is one in New York. That is.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one yet.
It's on Hulu. It is really good.
Well, Disney Plus for me, but
okay.
I'd be really good checking it out. But yeah,
I'll have to watch that then.
Please, yes, I implore y'all.
All right. What's his face though? Manning. Department. I didn't get. We have to pick doing a snake draft on my website. All the writers, and I missed out on compartment number 6. I wanted to see that, but I didn't get it. So
I've not seen that one just yet. Also quickly, Josephine says thoughts on Fire of Love. We will do that more of our thoughts on Sundance later, but I will say loved it. Utterly loved it.
Yeah, that got picked up by
Geographic.
That'll be on Disney Plus. So
that could be the pony in the race. It is my favorite doc so far out of Sundance. That's all I'm gonna say. It's right there with Free Chol Soo Lee. One of those two are right up back and forth there. But anyway, that's kind of what we've seen encapsulated recently. Again, we'll talk about Sundance more as we get into the weekend or next week, whether it's live or pre-recorded. We'll find out. But yeah, we've had a lot of guilds finally start to sink their teeth into the race. And a couple of the ones that we've had, just a few, are the Art Directors Guild, the Cinema Audio Society, and one of my personal favorites, the American Society for Cinematographers, ASC. Those are a couple. I know I'm missing one, but I can't remember off the top of my head recently that came out. I will double check that.
Makeup.
Oh, well, that probably is it. That is probably it. Do you know can you get that one up for me then, Malcolm? If you have that.
No, makeup was actually last week when Longlist and that came out.
Oh, okay. Then there's something else that I can't seem to recall.
There's set directors, visual effects, the USC Script Awards, art directors.
Oh wow,
sound,
I forgot. There's so many. Sound, yes, there is a lot. Could you get the scripters actually up, please?
Something that came out today, I thought I saw that was pretty good because
that was the Cinematographers. I know that one because I looked at that one.
I thought there was something with visual effects.
Oh, that was
I said visual effects.
Was it today?
Yeah, I thought I don't know.
18th. There's the visual effects society was the 18th.
Oh yes.
I can't remember what.
Well, in the meantime, what I'm going to go to quickly is I'm going to route off the art directors nominations. So what we have for best period feature film: The French Dispatch, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Tragedy of Macbeth, West Side Story. Fantasy feature film: Cruella, Dune, Ghostbusters Afterlife, The Green Knight. Really great production design. Just saying. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and contemporary feature film Candyman, Don't Look Up, In the Heights, The Lost Daughter, and No Time to Die. An animated feature film Encanto, Luca, Mentos vs. the Machines, Raya and the Last Dragon, and Sing 2. All the big major blockbusters for animated films. Why not? Why not?
It's weird though. People are seeing Belle now, Manning, and they're like raving about Belle. I'm like, what?
I haven't seen it yet. It's out here. I just haven't got a chance to see it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But that's for the society. That's for the Art Directors Guild at this moment. I'm going to look into some stats in 1 second. What are some of your favorite things to actually jump out here for Malcolm or Dan? You guys, anybody can say which ones really pop to y'all?
No, those seem, when you have so many different categories, they're hitting all the main ones pretty much. Doesn't seem like it to you, Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see French Dispatch picking up some momentum here. I mean, well, I know it's all technical and stuff, all that, but I really hope to see French Dispatch a few on the technical side of things at the Oscars.
Of course.
So it's good to see them sort of getting some nominations.
How about The Last Duel? Maybe that would have been nice to see something.
That would have been a cool one. I'm looking right now. Looking back at like for the art directors right now. There always seems to be just like one that kind of comes almost out of nowhere and seems like why is that one here? Like the cool one to me is Candyman. Like that sounds cool. I'm not sure like in particular which ones. There's some really cool, visual cinematography. But hey, I'm cool that made it. It's different. But the fact that The Lost Daughter made it in.
Yeah, that's there's no production value to that. She's just sitting on
sure.
Time. Did you see that movie yet, Manny?
Oh yes, I did see The Lost Daughter. It's fine. It's fine. I don't love it.
A little too close to Olivia Colman, if you ask me. I mean, just take the camera away a little bit.
Well, I think this. Yeah, no. I think that the directing is not the strongest suit, and it's very kind of samey in my opinion for The Lost Daughter. But that's just me. I do think, however, the performances are fantastic. I like the difference that Olivia Colman is doing. I personally think that what she is doing is it's very introspective. I utterly enjoy it, especially in contrast to what she does with The Favorite, personally.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite difference, and I adore that.
Yeah.
Like an old crazy woman who didn't know what the hell she was doing to me.
Well, to me, she is a scarred woman who basically loved her kids. She loved her kids, but she also kind of hated them at the same time. And it's just really raw a performance that she gives. While I don't think the movie doesn't successfully tell those nuances between what it's trying to say for me. I think with what she does, though, especially by that end when she's just kind of like, I was just playing a game, it's kind of haunting. You hear that for her. It's like, wow, you are very scarred, and I'm so sorry for you. I really liked her.
All right. Good for you.
Sorry, Malcolm, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, on the page I'm reading that's talking about the Art Directors Guild Awards, they said that since 1996, only 5 Best Picture Oscar winners have missed at the Production Design Guilds, and there was A Beautiful Mind, Spotlight, Moonlight, Green Book, and Nomadland.
Wow,
those are all recent.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that was, they said since '96. So.
So I thought it was in the, well, still that's still very recent though. The majority of those are like the past few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. Well, I'm looking back now. It's like Power of the Dog's not here, nor is Belfast, which are the 2 front runners. So I just find that really interesting. Especially the fact that Licorice Pizza made it in over both of those.
Power of the Dog's not in one of those categories?
No, it's not.
No.
Oh, I thought I heard it. Okay.
No, period film is French Dispatch, Licorice Pizza.
Period. Oh,
yes.
okay.
Nightmare Alley, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, it doesn't surprise me because there's been so many good-looking period films this year. So some things had to miss.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like
no,
Last
agreed.
Duel, both Power of the Dog and Last Duel.
Like, and I'm looking back now. If you want to like take into consideration, what we need to do is look at the period pieces when it comes to like the excellence for production design in a period film, because the Oscars will always go for the period piece. Not all the time, but most of the time they're going to go straight for the period piece. Listen to this.
I mean, I agree with that. I think if anything makes it an outside of period, I think Dune is probably the only one that might.
And yes, I agree with that. I do agree with. I think Dune will be the one.
And I mean, the other one is like Cruella. I'd love to see that maybe. Another one that slides.
That'd be great.
That'd be good if it gets into hair and makeup and costumes. Getting into set production or production value or whatever would be a feather in its cap, because it really does have that 70s, that steam, that vibe, that 70s punk British vibe to it, which I really loved.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, and the other one that I really do want to see get in that was nominated here that I think we'll miss out. I think In the Heights deserves some of these production design things as well.
Design.
Yeah.
I like the cinematography and the production value in the Heights better than West Side Story. I don't understand what the fascination is with all these under the line categories for West Side Story. I the Heights looks amazing.
No, it does, but I think the production and design of West Side Story is a little more cinematic, meaning like it's a lot more showy. By that meaning, like you can see it. They're saying, "Hey, look at me." In the Heights is a lot more subtle in its presentation in comparison to like if you put them back to back and you take a still frame and it's like, wow, look at the little light leaks that are coming through the camera right here, or look at the how this kind of is framed in this way. We'll get to the cinematography thing in a second, but just looking back right now, usually you'll always get around 3 different films that are in period. They're always going to make it. On average, I'm looking at it right now, and it's 3 different films that'll translate usually. Because last year you had Mank, The Father, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and News of the World, and Tenet. So 3 of those are period: Mank, Ma Rainey, News of the World. In comparison to The Father and Tenet, which are sci-fi or fantasy sci-fi, and then contemporary.
I think you put The Father on.
Yes, that is contemporary. Which again, great production design on The Father's part.
And honestly, if we're going to go for the fact that we're only going to get 3 in period at the Oscars this year, I don't know which ones. I'll probably lean towards maybe Naomi Alley, Macbeth, and West Side Story, because as much I mean, I personally want French Dispatch to get some love, but it's one of those ones that it's interesting to see if it will.
Well, I think that if you have that and then you take out Licorice Pizza and then you just replace it with Dune, I think French Dispatch could get in, honestly. There is a world where French Dispatch could get in. It's French Dispatch, Dune, Nightmare Alley, Tragedy, Macbeth, and then West Side Story. I think that's the world we could be looking at. That's what I have.
I mean, I think the other outlier here is if the Oscars is going to really love No Time to Die, because that like it could be that in Dune and then 3 from period.
That's done really well. It's done really, really well. No Time to Die so far. But do you actually, speak of No Time to Die, Malcolm, do you have the scripters up?
Yep.
You can just read that off real fast.
Nope, that's not that tab.
Yeah, you have lots of tabs, sir.
I mean, I just like when I was looking at the awards comes, I just did the made tabs of all the other things.
No, completely get that.
The USC Script Awards. So the finalist writers for film adaptation are in alphabetical order by film title: Dune, The Lost Daughter, Passing, The Power of the Dog, and The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Passing! Woo!
Passing.
I'm just happy it got mentioned somewhere. All Okay, so the USC scripter is not always the most reliable when it comes to obviously nominations. Because if you look back even last year, Dark Waters made it in or 2 years ago, excuse me, 2 years ago. But then Bad Education and First Cal made it in 2020. So I wouldn't always go to one comparison, you know. Yet that being said, this is always great. This is great for passing, which I think may miss at the end, but this also does really well for Dune. The fact that Dune made this list, like, when's the last time a sci-fi movie made it into the screenplay category?
Specifically adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
Well, I know because, I mean, my friends over at FYC, for your consideration, really have been like knocking Dune. I'm like, what do you mean? That's a great book. That's a great screenplay. There's a lot being said about the world, in the world building, in the
So good.
Yeah, I don't know why those guys are kind of knocking Dune. I think Dune's got great.
Well, I mean,
best adapted screenplay.
I mean, on that note, it is only half.
Yeah, it is.
But and this is like, I mean, I thought the way Dune was adapted was fine. I think you could have easily tightened up that book and made it one movie. I don't think it needed to be two.
You would have had to made it longer though. Like you would have had to made it 3 hours or maybe more because
Lord of the Rings was made 3 hours and they really were.
Fair. That's fair. I guess I don't knock them for doing that mainly because I see like I'm thinking up. There you go. Yeah, it's a thick boy book with 2 C's. No, one of my friends from work, mutual friends from work, Julian, he's a big fan of Dune. And he talked about how he thinks it's a very good and faithful adaptation. I want to talk to those who are really big fans of the Dune book and see how do you guys feel like as an adaptation, how does it work? And then talk to people who have no knowledge of Dune in comparison. And if both of those people are saying it's good, then I think you are doing something right, truthfully. Like, I think you need both the people who have seen Dune and are like, yes, I like it. This is a good adaptation, or those who have read Dune, excuse me. And then those who haven't seen it, they need to also be on board. So it needs to be like a give and take type of thing.
Also,
I think you got that.
It is the book. I mean, that is half the book, which is what I love about splitting the movie into 2. Just like they did the Lord of the Rings, they split it into 3 to get the full brunt of the book. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, splitting it into 2 movies, getting the full brunt of the actual book. And that's what we do with Dune. And that's why they're not trying to cram a book that size into one movie like David Lynch did in the 80s. This is meant to be 2 halves, and the book is being adapted very thoroughly, if you ask me, from what I've read of the book.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's like, I mean, the thing is, with Lord of the Rings, it was 3 books in the first place. So I mean, using that as an argument doesn't work too much. But with Deathly Hallows, like at the end of that first half, it came to even though you knew it was only half the book, it came to a logical conclusion, and it sort of came up, and it didn't kind of leave it on a cliffhanger. I felt that with part one of Dune. Like, I felt like it was just a cliffhanger. It's like, I mean, they could have found a way to found a ending point to make it a logical conclusion of Dune.
Abe says hi, everybody.
He's at work.
But that being said, to answer your question about when the last time a science fiction movie got nominated for Best Adapted is Arrival back in 2016. Yep.
That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure.
Another real new film.
But and also in saying that though, going back through the adaptation, there's always seems to be that one outlier which is a random one that gets in. So I think because of that, passing it actually does have a good shot to maybe slide in here. Because like last year you had the White Tiger.
Passing is based on a good book as well. It's just from 1920s.
Wait a minute. Okay, Malcolm, finish your thought, but I have a quick thought that I want us to think about.
And then in 2019, the two popes got in, which, in my opinion, shouldn't have been in there. But
Oh, it's good.
Oh, the two popes is phenomenal.
Oh. Disagree. But go ahead, Malcolm.
well, that was where my point was going. Like, there's always that random outlier.
No, I agree. But what I find interesting, and then we'll move on because we got a lot to go through, is that remember the Oscars, there is always that lone screenplay nomination. There's always just that movie that gets one Oscar nomination for screenplay. I would challenge you guys to go back to as far as you can. And like, well, first off, Abe agrees with us. Malcolm, he thinks it's excellent. What is the lone screenplay nomination, be it for original or adapted? Because somehow in one of those categories every year, one film gets a single nomination in one of the screenplay categories. What is that film this year? It's not going to be Passing, because Ruth Negga, I think, is making it. I think she's going to make it.
I mean, I think if anything happens, because it's going to depend on what they think of Olivia Colman, but I think it could easily be The Lost Daughter.
It could.
My Lost Daughter, Olivia Colman's almost a lock at this point. Unfortunately, I don't think she should be. But
they love her too much.
Yeah, they love her too much. She's in, so that's an outlier. That ain't gonna be a lone nomination.
Maybe it's like Mike Mills for Come On, because they loved him enough for 20th Century Woman. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones because, like, as I said with Olivia Colman, it's why I really hate saying that something's a lock a lot of the time, because I think the Oscars have proved enough that there's always some shocks and surprises. So, and a big surprise would be Olivia Colman maybe not getting in for Lost Daughter. But once again, anything is possible. I mean, it's one of those ones because even Ruth Negga, who I'm pretty confident might get in, like, she could miss, and that could make Passing that lone.
I'd be sad, but I'd also be happy if Passing made it in the screenplay. Also, before we end this conversation,
the dog get in there, right, Manny?
It did get in there. Yes, the Power of the God Dog.
That's gonna win.
Yeah, it's gonna win, but basically, it's not like it's not what's going to win. It's what is nominated alongside Power of the Dog. That's what counts.
Actually, is Mass adapted or original?
Original,
because Mass could be that lone nomination.
Wow.
For original, that'd be great. I don't think it will because people have forgotten about it and they're mean. If you have forgotten about it, you're very mean.
Is Nightmare Alley adapted?
Yes.
From the previous movie, based on the book, or what?
I think it's based on the book. Okay. I'm not sure, honestly.
I can't forget about a movie that never got released in New Zealand.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well, there you go.
Eventually, it might.
But what I was going to say before we ended up this conversation, Josephine says, "I know Denis Villeneuve doesn't do a post-credit scene, but if he were to do one, it should be a gag of Paul Atreides waking up and the whole thing being a dream. Would that make it better, Malcolm, for you?"
Probably.
Probably. Okay, there you go. We fixed Dune, everybody. I'm kidding. I love Dune. Don't change it. Well, if the second part's not good, then change part of the first. But we're not going to pretend. We're in this world I'm living in. 2 is great already. That's the world I'm living in. They're very much tied to each other. They both have to be good. Anyway, another one that we're going to talk about quickly is the Cinema Audio Society. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's more, the Cinema Audio Society is more equivalent to like mixing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
sound is just one category anyway at the Oscars. So
true. But I'm really curious along those lines because there are 2 separate guilds for this. You know.
Yeah. No, it is that sound mixing.
Okay. So what we have for that is as follows: Motion Picture Live Action, Dune, No Time to Die, Spider-Man No Way Home, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Motion Pictures Animated: Encanto, Luca, Raya and the Last Dragon, Sing 2, The Mitchells vs. the Machines. The only 5 animated films that came out this year. Only 5. No more. Just those 5.
Yeah, that's too bad that some of these other animated
Yeah.
films can be looked at like Poop Hell. I really enjoyed Poop Hell. And I understand why people like Belle. I just didn't go for it as much as other people did.
Um.
Oh, I get Malcolm. Oh, your boys are getting a movie on Netflix for Chicken Run. Aardman.
Oh, Aardman. I'm saying.
I don't
Yeah.
really need the sequel Chicken One, but there's.
I think
Yeah,
yeah.
they got Zachary Levi in the lead role.
I think
Instead of
Chicken
Mel
Run is
Gibson.
too little, too late in my mind. The
A
sequel,
long
just in
time
my
ago.
opinion. Yeah,
I mean,
it's too little,
the
too late.
first movie wasn't that good anyway.
Oh, it's.
I enjoyed Chicken Run. But you're the Aardman.
I don't.
Malcolm. I thought you liked your Aardman animation.
I like Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
I don't like Chicken Run.
Okay.
I have not. I don't remember the last time I saw that movie. I don't know my thoughts.
20-year-old movie. It's a 20-year-old movie, right? 2000.
I know. It is. I just haven't got a chance to see that yet. But no, okay. I think two things. This is really good for, again, No Time to Die continues to just show up. So really look out for that. I'm starting to get really kind of like interested in No Time to Die. And then Spider-Man No Way Home also shows up as well too in another below the line category, which is also very good for it. Power of the Dog is obviously the nice surprise as well, because it has some fits. Power of the Dog has some fantastic sound mixing, some sound editing, all of it.
The comb and the whistling, right? Are the two big
Oh,
ones.
I'll never forget that sound of the
whistling.
close up.
And then the comb.
Settling.
But the whistling gets you right off the bat. The whistling's part of the main part of the, and then the comb. You didn't know the comb was coming until later on.
You knew the comb was coming until you were right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is a good bunch of ones. Like, I think, and I do think that this could be like No Time to Die could get into more than visual effects with the Marvel movies this time around, and I think sound is probably a good place for it as well. It's going to be interesting to see how the sound editing branch and the sound mixing branch sort of combine, how that comes up when it comes down to it at the Oscars. Because the other thing is, does an animated movie make it in this year? Because we got Soul last year, but do we get one in this year?
That's an excellent point. Here's what I think. I think that, and this is kind of going to, because Ace Eddies are the same day as DGA and PGA. The fact that they're all on one day is like mind blowing to me. That's going to be a big day in 2 days. I think it's the 27th, so a Thursday. Which again, we're going to do our predictions in a bit. I think that No Time to Die gets in at Ace Eddies. I think that No Time to Die gets in for best editing at this point. From what the stuff that I've seen it getting in, I think that could be a surprise nomination of like, it gets sound, it gets, as again, whether it gets picture, I don't know, but it could get, I feel like that's a very editing friendly, a very editor friendly film. Like that is something that they can see and be like, oh, hey, let's award this really prestigious editing award to it. I can see them doing something along those lines, which would cement No Time to Die as something to keep an eye out.
Honestly, I think same can be said for No Way Home. I think if No Way Home picks up momentum by getting a lot of these below the line categories, I think that could give it a bigger shot for maybe getting in for Oscars too, because like No Way Home, similar to No Time to Die, I think both of them are editor-friendly movies, really, because especially when you think about it, like the timing with the reveals of and spoilers if you're one of the few people who haven't seen No Way Home, when they reveal the portals with Toby and Andrew in it, the timing of that was perfect for the fact that they held on that moment at a time, because they knew that there was going to be cheers and stuff in the audiences when that was going to happen. So I think to do something like that and actually hold on that moment enough time to give that thing so that the movie can just continue on, I think is a really good editing, in my opinion.
And the
That's fair.
in the Doctor Strange loops, having stuff on the other side of the loops and having stuff in the foreground, that's
Mhm.
pretty good editing, because you basically have to edit multiple shots together to create that visual. That's a lot of different kinds of editing there.
Now, yes. Now, quickly, Josephine's says, speaking of Ace, between Belfast, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story, which frontrunner do you think is most likely to miss out on an editing nomination at the Oscars?
The Belfast ain't the best editing. I'll tell you what's a really good editing is Last Night in Soho. I think that has some amazing editing.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, Belfast isn't the most fancy editing. Neither is Power of the Dog.
Well, I still think they are considered front runners because their movies are the front runners, and most likely they're front runner for a nomination. I don't think Belfast is winning. Power of the Dog's probably not going to win editing as well too, but I think they're both going to get nominated. If Green Book can make it in, Belfast can make it in.
Yeah.
Force Awakens got nominated for editing at the Oscars.
Wait, what did?
Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
It did. Yes, it did. I mean, I think that's good editing.
Oh, I mean, I was just surprised. I was actually going back to find out when the last superhero movie that got nominated for editing was. Like, technically it's Joker, but I don't consider that a superhero movie. But The Dark Knight would have been the next one before that. So, and I honestly, I think we're about time for another superhero movie to get in for editing.
No, I will say, looking back right now,
I like Shang-Chi's editing as well.
no, that was good. I think
That bus scene and the scene on the scaffolding, to edit those together to make those.
Although, in saying that, we can talk more about the editing next week when the A settings actually come out.
Yes, that's true. Well, I'm just kind of getting the quick predictions. Now that I'm looking back at it, Skyfall didn't get a nomination, which kind of... Oh, just scratch that. It did. 2012. I just didn't go back far enough. 2012, it got a nomination. Or that's Ace Eddies gave it a nomination. Excuse me, is what I should say.
How many categories are there? How many categories are there in the Ace Eddies, Manning?
Dramatic, comedy / musical, animated, and then documentary. Those 4.
Oh, so there's a lot of categories. There's a lot of films can get into those.
Well, animated and documentary kind of.
But Skyfall didn't get nominated at the Oscars for editing.
Well, I guess I might predict it for Ace Eddies and then stop it right then, because I still think it gets in for the Ace Eddies, maybe.
I mean, I think if No Time to Die is going to get a Best Picture thing like everyone's predicting, I think it needs to pick up some steam in some of these below the line categories.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure there's anything else that I saw over here. Okay. Yeah, for Ace Eddies, I think you're gonna have Dune, you're gonna have Belfast, Power of the Dog, probably No Time to Die, and then they might go for like
Nightmare Alley, Don't Look Up. Those maybe.
Oh, they're gonna go for Don't Look Up, because they're gonna go for Don't Look Up.
Drive My Car. There's a lot of editing involved in Drive My Car because they're driving, and so you have to get all these seeds of them driving, getting on the highways, getting off the highways. You never know. You might get a foreign film editing.
Okay, so looking back, Jojo Rabbit won editing for comedy at the Ace Eddies. So did The Favorite, I, Tonya, La La Land, because of course it is musical.
Yeah.
The Big Short one. And Vice also got nominated. So yeah, they like Hank Corrin. So look out for that. Yeah. So that is last one we're going to talk about is the American Society for Cinematographers, which today we recently had announced, and they were as follows: Bruno Del Bonello, The Tragedy of Macbeth; Greg Fraser, Dune; Dan Lastrin, Nightmare Alley; Ari Wagner, Power of the Dog; and oh no, here we go.
Harris Zambar-Lucas.
Is that how you Harris Zambar-Lucas?
It sounds close enough.
Zambar-Lucas. Yes, Belfast. So yeah, so that's the 5.
Well,
we
I
have.
mean, Belfast to me isn't the best cinema, but I would have went with the Green Knight if I was.
That's a great choice. Okay, I think that, and also for Spotlight, we have Ruben Impins for Titan, Pat Scola for Pig, and Veloso, Aldolfo Veloso for Jockey. So those are
Oh,
the three for
Jockey.
Spotlight
Jockey's
that made it for
fantastic.
cinematography.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful.
So, what does the Spotlight Award kind of mean? Is it just ones they want to highlight?
I think
or...
it's independent, maybe. I'm
Yeah,
not
maybe.
positive.
Yeah,
I need to look into
Yeah.
that.
Jockey's fantastic looking though.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good 5. I mean, I think this is the potential 5. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if there's a surprise that one of these is not going to, that's going to miss, I think maybe one of the Spotlight ones slide in there, because Pig. I haven't seen Pig, but from what I've heard, people are saying it's good cinematography. So
It is.
I think I think if anything slides in there, it might be Pig, just as an outlier.
I hope the Green Knight gets in. I mean, you got to give the Green Knights a cinema. That or Spencer to me are some of the best looking films of all. Say what you want about the performance of Kristen Stewart or whatever, the writing or whatever. It is a gorgeous film.
Well, let's
with the Green Knight. I mean, gorgeous film.
No, I agree. And I would have the Green Knight on feature film if I had the choice. However, all that to say, it missed the BAFTA long list. Green Knight and Spencer both missed the BAFTA long list, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, unfortunately, I think people have forgotten about the Green Knight. I think it's been out.
Sadly.
Because I mean, it came out like I forgot it was going to be on Amazon Prime, because it turned up on Amazon Prime one time. I was like, yeah, when did this come out?
I actually said this last year, I believe. I thought to myself, I said, I bet the Green Knight would have did better last year than it would have did this past year, because there was less films to choose from, and it was more of a showier film. Even Dev Patel might have had some love. It was a lot. You could have put Green Knight in a lot of below the line categories last year. Yeah, I think it missed the boat not coming out a previous year when it was originally supposed to come out.
Mm-hmm. No, again, as I said, should have come out later in the year or earlier last year. Either one. But also, Josephine says that if I will say that I have to replace any of the nominees, I would get rid of Belfast and replace it with either French Dispatch, Titan, Spencer, or even Licorice Pizza. Spencer is probably the one that I would go for out of those you've mentioned.
Me too. Or Green Knight.
Yeah, I would say I still think this is a solid 5. Like, I'm not going to complain. I think Belfast is good cinematography. I just don't think it's spectacular cinematography.
It's not the best looking black and white film of the year, if you ask me. I just think, like, come on. Tragedy of Macbeth. Passing. We all have better looking cinematography than
yes.
Remember how long ago did I say this? I thought it probably would have been better off in color. I think Belfast would have been more effective if it was in color, if you ask me. I don't know why
I agree.
I went with black and white. But I mean, sometimes black and white works for films like Passing, The Tragedy of Macbeth. Come on. I actually think the black and white worked for those films. I don't think it worked that well for Belfast. That's just, my 2 cents.
And actually going back to the sound for a minute, I actually did, sound editor guilds have actually their nominations came out.
Thank you. That's who I was missing.
Sound.
So for sound editing, feature dialogue / ADR, Dune, The Matrix Resurrections, Nightmare Alley, No Time to Die, Power the Dog, A Quiet Place Part 2, Tragedy of Macbeth. There's a lot of nominations there.
Holy cow!
Oh, that's a good 7. I like that 7.
That is a solid 7.
That is really
I'm just trying to find if there's a all-time one, because that was 8 hour anyway.
Hold on a second. I'm going to quickly do some cross research real fast before we start to wrap up in a little bit. Before we do our PGA and DGA nominations. I'm looking back right now at what the like, like going back and forth, what is the track record that the American Society for Cinematographers has with the Oscars? Because right now I'm trying to find that out. Just do some good old quick Google search.
While you're doing that, I'm going to continue going down the sound editing.
Please.
Anyway.
I thought you were finished. I'm sorry, Malcolm.
No, it's all right. For feature effects / Foley, we've got Belfast, Dune, The Matrix Resurrections, Nightmare Alley, No Time to Die, A Quiet Place Part 2, Spide-Man No Way Home, sound editing feature music, Dune, Ghostbusters Afterlife, In the Heights, Resurrections, Nightmare Alley, A Quiet Place Part 2, Tick Tick Boom, and West Side Story. Sound editing for animation, Encanto, Luca, Mitchell's vs. Machine, Raya, Sing 2. Documentary editing sound,
Cool.
Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, Flea, The Rescue, Summer of Soul, Velvet Underground. And then there's foreign film, which is for sound, Riders Odyssey, Titane, Her Hero, and Cliff Walkers. And that's all the movie ones anyway.
All right. So what I'm currently looking at right now, thank you again for that, Malcolm. What I'm looking at right now is most of the time it is either 5 for 5 or it is going to be a 5 for 5 or 4 for 5 when we look at the American Society for Cinematographers, the ASC, and the actual Oscars that ultimately transpired. Again, last year it was Chicago 7, Nomadland, News of the World, Cherry, and Mank. Take out Cherry, and then you put in, I believe it was Judas and the Black Messiah, which is an infinitely better choice, honestly, for Judas and the Black Messiah, and that's what your Oscars were. I think you're going to, because we have Belfast, Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy, Macbeth. The last time we had 5 for 5 was 2017 with Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, Shape of Water. I think this is your 5 for 5 this year, guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's quite possible this is 5 for 5. But even if it's 4 for, I think if it's 4 for 5, then I think it's Belfast that misses out. It's one of those ones like I wouldn't be surprised if a foreign movie slides in here, comes out of nowhere. I mean, Dad would know which foreign movie might be better suited.
Well, the best looking foreign films are Drive My Car, Worst Person in the World, A Hero. I liked Hand of God because it was filmed in Italy and it kind of looks kind of beautiful. But Flea is animated, so you couldn't do no, that's a documentary. Foreign films. Petite Maman is a good looking film. What's the one with Tilda Swinton? Oh, God, I can't think of it.
Memoria, but I think
Memoria. That's it's not nothing crazy about that.
Well, Malcolm, you give an excellent point because I will never forget in 2018, you had 3 foreign language films out of 5 make the nomination for the Oscars that year eventually. We had Cold War, Roma, and then Never Look Away, I think is what the movie was. Out of nowhere. I remember we saw the Oscars and I was like, what?
Cold War and Roma were gorgeous.
Yeah, but then Never Look Away feel like it came out of nowhere. No one was talking about that as a possibility, and then it just happened.
Yeah.
Did any one of us predict Cold War getting in for cinematography that year? Or?
After it got
SCSC.
I didn't have it predicted for ASC, but I had it for the ultimate nomination. I did not have Never Look Away. If you did, good on you, whoever did that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, I think I think Tragedy, Macbeth, Dune, and The Power of the Dog are your 3 safest bets. And then right now, Nightmare Alley and then Belfast are the kind of like the 4-5 spot. But what gets in if one of those misses? I think it's West Side Story. Mainly because the buzz upon that movie. I know Dan doesn't want it, and I don't really care. I don't really want that in either. But I think the buzz around that is going to propel it because it's not going to be Passing. It's not going to be The Green Knight. It's not going to be in these other independent films. It's going to be the one that they're going down the line or like, yes. I
No,
could be
actually,
wrong.
I actually agree with you because they just want some of the best picture contenders is what they usually go with, the best picture contenders. And West Side Story, despite what me and you think, Manning, is the best picture contender.
It is.
And unfortunately, for our sake, we're just stuck with it basically. And I love Steven Spielberg too, so I hate poo-pooing on.
It's not
Steven
a bad
Spielberg film.
movie.
No, it's not. It's not a bad movie, but neither is In the Heights. Neither is House of Gucci. None of these are bad movies. They're just not great movies. And when you're talking about the Oscars, you want to see great movies represented.
I'll fight you on In the Heights. In the Heights is a great movie.
He will fight you on that.
5 stars, I believe. I love In the Heights. I'm Malcolm. Did I say In the Heights?
You
I
did.
did say.
Oh well, I love In the Heights. I love In the Heights. Don't think what I said wrong.
Listen. I don't like In the Heights. Well, scratch that. Excuse me. I don't think In the Heights is that great. I'm the lowest on In the Heights on the podcast. But then again, I'm just a grouchy old. I'm just a grouchy old white man in a young man's body. That's what it is. That's what I am on the inside. Anyway, but just looking back real fast, I think you're going to be able to have. Wait a minute. Did The Lighthouse make it in 2019 for the cinematography?
See, that should have.
No, that made it in for the Oscars.
Yeah, that had some amazing cinematography, despite the story, which is crazy. But the cinematography is amazing in that.
Also, we're not alone. Josephine also thinks that West Side Story is overrated.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you. They're not the only ones. I think West Side Story in and of itself is overrated, but that's just me. I will not be hearing the same thing from a lot of people.
It's just a dated story. That's the
really
problem.
is.
It's just a dated story, and that's
all right.
That's a major issue.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm trying to look right now and just. I don't think. Looking back here, I do not think there is anything that's going to be like out of nowhere shocking for this year when it comes to the American Society for Cinematographers, the ASC. I don't think that's going to happen. But we're going to move right along. And we're going to do a quick discussion before Dan has to go. And we have to go because I got to go watch Navalny on Sundance. The PGA is this week. The PGA, which we've had great nominations in the past, like Wonder Woman, Deadpool, A Quiet Place. We've had an excellent selection of films that are not exactly Oscar-nominated films, but they kind of made it into the conversation because of this. So I want to have a quick discussion upon the lines of what we think the PGA is actually going to muster up. I think you're going to see a lot of the same ones. That's always going to happen. But because we also have a straight 10, I think we're going to get an idea of what we're going to see at the PGA at the end of the day. So just as a clarification, last year's PGA award, we had Nomadland, Borat's subsequent movie film, Judas and the Black Messiah, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, Minari, One Night in Miami, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. And just for a little more normalcy, the year prior, we had 1917, Ford v. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Knives Out, there you go, Little Women, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. The one that's kind of, I guess, there's always one I feel like, because on, actually, 2019 had a really awesome, was it 2019? Hold on, I'm getting my years mixed up. Okay, no, this is 2020, 2021, 2020. Yeah, okay. It was the year of Green Book winning. You had Green Book, Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, Crazy Rich Asians, The Favorite, A Quiet Place, Roma, Stars Born, and Vice. I don't like some of those films on there, but the fact that A Quiet Place and Crazy Rich Asians both made it on, that's really cool, I think. The fact that they ultimately made it.
Looking back at last year's nominations of PGA, Borat seems like such a weird choice. It's a bit of all the other ones.
It definitely sticks out like a sore thumb, and again, in a good way in my mind, in a good way.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really interesting to do because I don't think you're going to get your straight 10. I think you got to be strategic upon this. So
this is a sliding scale, not like the Oscars this year, which has got a straight 10.
This is a straight 10 as well.
Okay.
This is a straight 10 for PGA.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those ones that I think, for PGA, I think if Spider-Man No Way Home is any shot to get in anywhere, especially if people are saying it's the best picture movie, it needs to get a PGA nomination for that to happen.
Yes, PGA is where I think this and for No Time to Die. If either one of them can make it in, I think there's a good shot they can get a Best Picture. Only if they make it in with PGA. Only. Exclusive. Yeah. Because right now, what I have is I'm gonna have Belfast, Power of the Dog, King Richard, Dune, Belfast, Power of the Dog, King Richard, Dune, West Side Story, Don't Look Up, Coda, Licorice Pizza, No Time to Die. That's what I currently have at the moment. And then Being the Ricardos. I think those are the ones you could be looking at with a give or take of House of Gucci. Oh no, House of Gucci's definitely getting in, isn't it? Oh,
Don't Look Up is probably getting in. You remember, producers is different.
It's getting in.
Than some of these other categories. It's about money with producers. So if they see a film that made a lot of money, we got into this 2 years ago. Malcolm and I did, I think. I think they're going to put more money-making films in here. So you're going to see, in my opinion, a Dune, a Spider-Man No Way Home, No Time to Die would have a shot than some of these, like West Side Story didn't make any money. Maybe the producers wouldn't go for that. Or some of these non-money-making films.
But in saying that, we did talk about this last time, so I remember that.
Did. Yes, we did.
And
I'll sit back and relax.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I think I did bring up Avengers Endgame because I thought that was definitely getting in. That wasn't nominated, was it?
I know.
No, I thought it would too.
I thought it was too. I thought it was going to get in there, Malcolm, and we did have this discussion. I was like, how did that not get in? But now you know. I guess money doesn't always talk.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think if but I think in this case, because Spider-Man No Way Home did, especially making and I think it's almost $2 billion at this point. Last I checked, it's 6th on the highest grossing movies list. And I think with the fact that in a pandemic year, the fact it can make almost $2 billion, I think it needs to be rewarded for that. And I think the Producers Guild might do that.
Yeah.
No, again, I think we are both in agreement. If that's where it's going to happen, that's where it's going to happen. I think you're going to get a resurgence. I don't know. I have this feeling like Being the Ricardos, because it is an industry thing, I think you're going to get a lot more industry love. I have it getting in the 10. I have Being the Ricardos getting in at 10. And I have House of Gucci. No, not House of Gucci. I got to find a way House of Gucci to get in. Maybe I take out... See, I think West Side Story is going to get in because The Post made it in, which made no money.
Nightmare Alley hasn't made a lot of money.
No, I don't think that's making it in. I think Spielberg is going to help propel West Side Story to get a PGA. That's what I think, anyway.
Power of the Dog didn't make a lot of money.
No, but
Ben saying that Power of the Dog was more Netflix anyway. It is
on Netflix, Malcolm, but it came out in the theaters for a 2-week run, and it didn't make any money.
I mean,
Roma, that made it in.
So, it's one of those ones with the Netflix movies. Like everyone knows they're going to be released in theaters for a 2-week run, but so if you're going to release something in theaters for that limited time, it's not going to make money.
No, all they do it for really is to just be eligible. That's it.
Did King Richard make any money? I thought it actually made some money.
I think it made fine money. I think it made its money back.
Yeah, and it actually in the case of Dune, like compared to some of the other movies, it actually didn't make a lot of money. Like made $400,000, but that could still be enough that
money back.
Well, yeah, because apparently the budget was only $41 million. I don't think that's right, but that's what Box Office Mojo
can't be right.
Me.
There's no way that cost $41 million.
Actually, no, I was looking at the wrong thing anyway. Dune budget.
Yeah, it has to be in the hundreds of millions.
It's like at least 150 million.
165 million was the budget
close.
for Dune. So it barely made money back. Because if you factor in, I think
the advertising budget, the
because if you
visual
factor, I think it barely made even, to be honest.
400 million.
I mean, I don't think it's enough to be considered a flop, but it's definitely not enough. It's definitely not enough to have made money.
The day and date hurt all of Warner Brothers films.
Yep.
Let's not sugarcoat this. The day and date hurt all of their films. They had some huge blockbuster films that cost them a lot. Godzilla versus Kong, Matrix, and Dune are massive. I mean, even these movies aren't cheap.
I don't think the day and date hurt their first initial releases like Mortal Kombat and Godzilla versus Kong because nothing was open. Like nothing was open right there. I think is when you got In the Heights was the first one to actually get hurt. I think personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a lot of free screenings too, fan screenings of that. I mean, there was a couple days, Manning, where they had it playing like on a Sunday, like all over the country. One Sunday, like the 9th of something, the 9th of May or the 9th of June or something, like 2 weeks before it was supposed to come out or something, trying to drum up some money. And it just wasn't making as much money as they wanted it to. I thought those things would have helped it, but it really didn't.
But yeah, just to the top 5 highest grossing movies of 2021. I'm going to leave out number 1 because we all know what that is. But number 2 was this movie called The Battle at Lake Changjin, which is a Chinese movie.
China.
Hi Mum, which is another Chinese
China.
movie. Then at 4th place, No Time to Die. And 5th place is F9, The Fast Saga. Those are the top 5 highest grossing movies of 2021. Wow. And that's worldwide.
I mean, one of those Chinese films is basically propaganda, the Battlefield one, or that one's just like propaganda. Like it's literally a propaganda film by the government that they wanted to do that. I read into that and I'm like, what in the world?
They probably made the people go see that.
And then as we go further down, like at 7th place on this list, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. It's the top 10 highest grossing movies.
All movies that went out in the theaters exclusively, not a day and date like a Disney Plus or a WB's HBO or Amazon or Netflix or any of that.
I was getting there, Dan. The highest grossing Warner Brothers movie worldwide, and that's only because it was worldwide, because it's Godzilla versus Kong, and that was the highest grossing of the Matrix ones, the Warner Brothers ones, not the Matrix
let's say
movies.
Not the Matrix.
Not the Matrix.
Matrix Resurrections wasn't as high as I thought it would have been.
Nope. Really wasn't. I think the hype died. The hype for that, I think no one was really asking for a Matrix sequel. The general audience, I should say. The general audience was not looking for that.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was entertaining for what it was. Kingsman, not like we need. Kingsman was supposed to come out 2 years ago. But the Kingsman was entertaining and enjoyable.
Matrix Resurrections came in on the top at number 30 on highest grossing movie. It made almost about the same amount of money as The Boss Baby Family Business and Paw Patrol the movie.
Wow, that is a flop if I ever heard it.
Oh God, how can you be in that conversation with those?
I mean, it was still a good amount of money. Like it made almost $150 million. I'm going to see what the Matrix's box office is, but I'll let you move on to do actually talk about Oscars.
Yes, no, but what I was going to say basically is like I think that you're going to get I think that at the end of the day, 8 of these 10 will get nominated for the Oscar. I think you're going to have 2 that will not make it. I think that's the average that we usually see. But again, this is the first year where we've had 10 Oscar for Pictures and 10 PGAs. That's the first time we're going to have any sort of crossover. What do you think, Dan? We probably might get.
Well, I mean, I think you're going to get most of your Oscar Best Picture contenders, and you might get a couple of the big budget kind of things like they may look at a Don't Look Up and say, wow, look at the amount of people that saw that film. Yes, is it on Netflix? That's a producer's type of situation where if you're a streaming service and you have that many views of something, that in their eyes is a success. So they would say, oh yeah, well, let's put Don't Look Up on there because it had such a huge success on Netflix or something. But then also the money aspect of a No Way Home, but also a worldwide thing with James Bond, not just in this country but other countries. You're not. I think you're gonna. Some of the little indies might not get in. Like your Belfast might not get in there. Your movies that may not have made that much. And I think even though they're Best Picture contenders, they're kind of fading. Like a Belfast is kind of fading.
Yeah, you're right.
And a producer do like your Hollywood type movies, like a Being the Ricardos is a kind of and there are quite a few movies with real people in them, so you might get some of these like that don't get in there. The Belfast, the Codas, the Mass obviously ain't gonna get in there.
Coda missing is, I think, is a real possibility because it is truly an independent film, like bread and butter independent. I could really miss. You're right.
Yeah, but in saying that, to counter what Dan was saying about the view count, like I've seen a lot of people talk about Coda. Like the thing that could save Coda is the fact that a lot of people have been watching it on Apple TV. So that view count could help Coda. The only problem with using view counts on streaming services as your barometer for what should be nominated is the fact you've got no way of knowing if someone's watching the whole movie or if they just turned it on for 5 minutes, like, what the fuck is this, and turned it off.
No, they do have a way.
As soon as they start watching it, like the view count, it counts when that people click on it.
No, it doesn't. They have numbers. If you watched it for 5 minutes or less, they have view, and it has the most views of anything they've ever done on Netflix. Fully, they've watched the entire thing, Malcolm. That they have various numbers showing that.
Are they saying are they going by minutes watched or views? No, because there's a difference between the two. They have different
view counts. If you've watched it for 5 minutes, they have a view count for that. If you watch it for 20 minutes, they have a view count for that. And they have a view count for if you watch the whole thing. I watched I think a John Campea episode of the John Campea show, and he went through this whole thing. So I mean, just go look for that episode of the John Campea show, and you'll see him discuss this.
Also, Dan Murrell on online that we know, he also every day that goes by, I believe he says what hours watched, like how many times has this been watched, which I would love to know what he does from a statistical standpoint of what he's looking at when he gets the numbers reported out for his show that he has every week. But yeah, I think okay, all right. First off, Josephine says Coda does have Apple backing it though, and we all know that Tim Apple, the Lord of all apples, he himself, I don't know who Tim Apple is. Tim Cook, I think is his name. He's the one who's going to be they're going to be pushing. What was that?
Was it Steve Apple or what was it?
It was Steve Apple, Mr. Wozniak Apple. I don't know. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
It was Michael Fassbender. It was Michael Fassbender and Ashton Kutcher. They were the ones backing Coda.
Michael Applebender, and
Appleton Kutcher.
Appleton Kutcher. That's who they are. No, yeah, you're right. It's Apple. I think that's a good point. It has Apple is going to push that or Coda. I think you're going to have Tragedy of Macbeth or Coda. One of them is going to make it in from Apple. They're going to push one of them. It might be both. We'll see. But I think that if you had to choose, Malcolm, which one's making it in? Is it No Time to Die or is it No Way Home or both for PGA?
Honestly, I think No Time to Die is probably a good shot, but because well, as Josephine said, like if Endgame couldn't get into PGA, then she doesn't think Spider-Man will. But I think this is where I think it might be different because while Endgame is like all that year, there's a lot of good contenders out there. I think Spider-Man could get in because it managed to make a lot of money in a pandemic year, and I think that could be enough to get it to slide in. Whether it will translate into an Oscar, I don't know. I'm going to actually say both get in.
Okay, and Dan, what about you?
Yeah, I actually agree with Malcolm. I just think both are going to get. I didn't even think Dune's going to get. I think a Don't Look Up is going to get in.
Yep.
I think the little movies, some of your indies, won't get in here, where they may get in the Oscar 10.
That's true. I think at the end of the day, just because if Endgame can't make it in here, I just have a hard time of seeing of No Way Home getting in, mainly because I'm not sure if it's a bias to Marvel, because outside of Black Panther, I don't know what other Marvel film has gotten in. You've had Wonder Woman, you've had Deadpool, but it's not MCU, so kind of. But there hasn't been. You guys could be right. Until I see it, I'm just gonna go with No Time to Die because I think No Time.
You're right.
Did Skyfall make it in? Is the question.
I don't know.
Let me check real fast. That'll give me the. It did. Skyfall made it into PGA. I'm going with No Time to Die. That was all the confirmation I needed.
All right, good. What are we looking at for directors, though? This is going to be interesting.
Yes,
you
quickly.
Some foreign directors in here. No,
Yes.
just take as long as we need. Don't worry about it.
Well, I will kind of wrap us up a little bit too, because I do have to go watch the Navalny before my ticket stub goes away in the past. But what I was gonna say is for DGA, I think is really interesting because DGA, you have kind of like a set 5. You have the 5 that people are like, oh, these are the most. DGA has a 5 that you think are like, oh, these people are almost absolutely going to make it. These are the top 5 we have. Their movies are in the conversation. And correct me if I'm wrong for you guys, for Malcolm and Dan. For me, I think it's easily going to be Jane Campion. It's going to be Kenneth Branagh, Denis Villeneuve. That hurts to say, Denis Villeneuve. And then wow, what's his name? Paul Thomas Anderson. Yes, and then Steven Spielberg. Like those are the 5 that I think have been in the conversation the most. And at this point,
I think Steven Spielberg's the most vulnerable. I know it sounds weird to say.
Yes, you're right.
I think Steven Spielberg is the most vulnerable because I believe you could get like an Adam McKay in here, or a director of Drive My Car in here, or Oscar Farhadi in here from A Hero, or
did Adam McKay got in for Vice, right?
For DGA?
Yeah.
One of those last 2 movies he got in for. I don't know what it. Maybe it was Oscar he got in for. I don't remember.
Oh, he made it in for Vice. Oh,
I'm telling you right now, man. Steven Spielberg to me is the one who's in the hot seat here. I hate to say it, but I think he's the most vulnerable.
No, it's fine. He misses, okay, but not to Adam McKay.
I also think like Paul Thomas Anderson could be one of those ones that could be vulnerable too, because I think while people are kind of liking Licorice Pizza, I don't think they're loving it. So, I mean, this could be a situation of what's his name that did Cold War snuck in out of nowhere. So you could get the Drive My Car direct. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name.
How about like a Ridley Scott? He did 2 movies this year.
I don't think he gets.
Could the directors respect that? The fact that he had 2 movies out in the same calendar year, and they're both period pieces. They're both distinctly different.
I mean,
just really good in their own way, but not great. I mean, one of them is better than the other, but I mean,
it's one of those cases like, well, yes, they might respect that he did 2 movies in 1 year. The other thing is, one of these movies was pushed due to the pandemic, so there's that.
Right.
So I mean, it's like if he actually filmed both movies in the same year, then that might be a good achievement. But I don't think he did.
I believe Last Duel was last winter. Don't quote me on this. I think they filmed Last Duel last winter. I don't know when they filmed House of Gucci.
I know that they were still filming it during the pandemic. I remember that because all those pictures came out and they're like, "Ooh, look how much they look like these people. Wow, look at these behind the scene photos." They were filming in the middle of the pandemic.
What, Gucci?
Yeah, Gucci, yeah.
Well, then he did do 2 movies in a year then. They both kind of came out at the time they should have been coming out because he kind of filmed them both.
That's just impressive. Like,
that's pretty.
Just give him a special.
Awesome.
Give him a special DGA.
Yeah.
I remember he listened to an interview with Ridley Scott one time where he said he had 60 projects in various parts of production. 60.
Jeez, does he sleep?
Like maybe they're working on the script or post-production, pre-production, all kinds of different things. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of movies, He's just looking for the right project at the right time, I guess, All right, Malcolm. We all got to get going pretty soon.
Yeah, I've got something else to be.
Hey, that's perfect. So we're gonna end the last thoughts. If we have a DGA 5, who do you think is going to make it in? I think we're all in agreement. Jane Campion, Denis Villeneuve, Kenneth Branagh are the ones that are a lock. Those are the 3 that I think are going to make it in regardless. We're not going to be shocked if they make it in. I think also PTA. I think PTA could miss because he hasn't gotten a nomination since There Will Be Blood. Like he has missed.
I think he's in for this.
You feel like he's in? Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of buzz behind him.
Okay. Malcolm, do you think PTA is in?
I'm going to hesitantly say yes. I haven't seen Licorice Pizza, so I can't know. I just know that like he's kind of being talked about, but he's just all over the place at the moment when it comes to nominations. Agreed.
And then as we continue to wrap up, the last thing it says is that Josephine said, and Tom said in the episode of IndieWire, which I've listened to this exact episode, so you were right, Josephine. She was talking to Academy members over the Christmas break and found that many of them are resistant towards West Side Story. So there is a high possibility that Spielberg could miss. I still have him in at DGA because he's Steven Spielberg and he has the clout.
I would go with Ridley Scott as the 5th if I had. That's my
5th.
Oh, see you later, Malcolm.
Oh, Malcolm had to ditch and bail. So, yeah, I think also we could obviously see, in my opinion, we could absolutely see like a Sean Heder maybe making a surprise appearance for Coda because they like Coda or Joel Coen.
Yeah,
Joel Coen for Tragedy of Macbeth. I think this is up in the air, kind of.
I mean, a lot of people don't want to hear it, but even being the Ricardos,
he made it last year. Aaron Sorkin.
How can I?
Okay.
But I think the 5th. I'm not going to go with Ridley Scott. I'm going to go with Adam McKay.
Good luck on you. I'm going to go Spielberg, and then I'm going to add Sean Heder because I think that'd be a really interesting thing for Coda for a directorial standpoint. That or Joel Coen possibly going to do that because I think Tragedy of Macbeth is rising and like at the right time. It's rising at the peak time that it needs to.
Yeah, I think
one of the Apple people.
I think a lot of people in a lot of different guilds are liking House of Gucci because look, SAG they just loved it. BAFTA they loved it. So I'm thinking maybe possibly a Ridley Scott could get in.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Which
7th.
one? Gucci or Last Day or Last Duel?
Oh, God, I love the Last Duel so much better. But the one that's kind of getting a lot of buzz is Gucci. So I would say for Gucci. Yeah.
I agree.
But
it's probably going to be Gucci.
Like, okay, you directed 2 films, so you're getting in for both. Because you directed 2 films? That's not one of the things that they do in directors?
No, I don't think so. That's not what they do.
The one film?
Just the one. I don't think they've ever done anything else. Could be wrong, but I don't think it's done. I don't think it has been done anywhere else, unless the slash in Frost / Nixon accounts, but it doesn't. So it's just Frost Nixon. Sorry, that was a stupid joke. Anyway, so where can they find you, Dan? We're wrapping up.
Yeah, you can always find me at disappointmentmedia.com where I write about all kinds of things, new movies, retrospectives, TV shows, anniversaries, all kinds of. If I'm not writing for disappointmentmedia.com, I'm writing for my own blog. from the fourth row.wordpress.com, where I'm going to be writing all of my Sundance reviews will be going on my blog, and I'm going to start writing those this week. I'm kind of behind on my writing. Or my name, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest, or DP Skip Allen. Letterbox, the same thing, any of those.
And I'll do it for Malcolm. And you can find me here on Take Free, hosting the Rankum Show. That's a British accent. I'm so sorry. No, I can't do it.
Worse.
I can't do it. That was the worst. I can't
Malcolm.
distinct. That's not Malcolm. I suddenly turned into there's a Michael Caine. I know, I'm Michael Caine now. I'm Michael Caine. Master Brusha. Master Bruce. I'm sorry, I offended all our English.
We just
English
lost
friends.
all our followers now.
All our English followers. All right. Anyway, you can find me at Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN, as well as here hosting, of course, Gone with the Wind. This coming Sunday, we are planning on having a retrospective right before we have our, I believe, our BAFTA nominations that coming week, or it could be the following week. I'm not sure. BAFTA is really weird. It's like at a weird time. It's like the 3rd of February or something. So it's weird. So we'll figure that out. But look for us next week, this coming Sunday, since I don't have to work Sundance or a Winter Storm. Hooray! And of course, you can find me at Letterboxd at Manning_Franks. And of course, as I mentioned prior, for all my Sundance coverage that you have, and as well as WFMY News 2, our YouTube and online on our website. But again, thank you guys for listening to this episode of Gone with the Wind. We're going to head out with this special. I'm trying to learn everything. I apologize. And here we go. Good night.
He's looking at you, kids.
I wish I knew how to quit eating bugs.
This seems so James Bond.
There's no place like
I'm
home.
gonna make an offer down with you.